on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
And this is like episode 344, I think.
Oh my gosh, that's episode a lot.
Can you believe that, Dylan?
That is a lot of long form content, and I cannot believe that 4, pushing 5 years later, we're still doing this.
We're still doing the damn thing. And we have some long form content for you today. I have a feeling this is going to be quite a lengthy episode, Dylan.
Oh, well, you know what?
We have a lot to talk about.
I think the listeners deserve a good, fat, juicy episode.
Oh my gosh, you make it sound like it's a burger.
Yeah, sink your teeth into this.
Oh, wow. It's like meaty.
Yeah, the Mountain Murders juice is going to run down your chin.
Oh. Well, I can't have any of that.
So that means we need to dive straight in.
Speaking of, we went to eat burgers at like a local spot that has amazing burgers the other day. And you, my daughter, we all ordered the burgers. And I feel like I was the only one that was juicing. My burger was juicing on me.
Okay.
And I had it all over my hands. And I had to go wash my hand. You guys were just like having the burger like normal people. And then I looked like a sloppy, like a monsoon of burger juice had hit me.
Yeah, you needed one of those big lobster bibs.
I did. So I was like, what the fuck?
I was too busy enjoying my burger to notice you getting juiced over there.
Yeah, I was quite juicy with my burger.
Ah, yes. If you're in the area, Church Street Depot, the burgers are banging.
Cool. And they're not even sponsoring the show, Dylan.
No, I'm just
People
passing it along.
in Germany don't care about that burger joint, but thanks for sharing it with them.
It's true.
Okay, so we have a very interesting story today. I do think this will be a lengthy episode, but I'm ready to get right to it, Dylan. How about you?
Let's go.
The prestigious Duke University was founded in 1838 by Methodists and Quakers in Trinity, but they relocated it to Durham in 1892. Students at Duke are in the top 5% of their high school and top Division I athletes, making it one of the most selective schools in the country. It is one of the top 10 research universities, dedicating nearly $1 billion annually to research projects.
Wow.
That's quite impressive, right?
Yeah, I think sometimes people forget that a lot of your R&D in various fields and things like that happen in university labs.
Duke is alma mater to President Richard Nixon and 14 living billionaires.
Okay. Yeah.
A 2006 graduate summarized Duke as, quote, work hard, play hard mentality. While some burned the candle too close, others were able to handle successfully all of their responsibilities and took pride in doing so.
Yeah, so it's even if you can afford to go there, very expensive university, that still doesn't mean you're going to get in. So you got to have great grades, great GPA. You got to have all the academic acumen. I don't even think that's the right words.
No, it's fine.
As you can tell, I did not go to Duke University, right? I know you guys were fooled for a minute. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's very prestigious.
And quite competitive.
Very competitive, hard to get into.
Yeah.
So just having rich parents or something like that's not enough usually. Well, I guess if they're alumni, maybe they can help you out. But yeah, you gotta be a smart fucker.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna pose on a treadmill and then say you're part of the cross country team to get into this school.
No.
Doesn't matter if your mom is on Full House or not.
Yeah.
Most students either stayed away from the wild parties to focus solely on academics or worked as hard as they played. Most of the 47 lacrosse players were in the latter category and were viewed as something like big men on campus, like fraternity brothers, even though they were not exactly a fraternity.
Okay, so they're kind of like this jockey, popular, whatever crowd of guys, right?
Laxers, as the players were called, were considered to be the most desired and most confident men on campus. In Rolling Stone magazine, Janet Reitman said, quote, "They're fun and they're hot."
Oh, wow. I bet you spent a lot of time checking these pictures out, didn't you?
No, I would never do that. They're too young. Others saw them as full of arrogance. They urinated out windows, kicked in doors of homes, and were disruptive with their parties. The Laxers were known for their elaborate tailgating. On a Saturday morning, pre-football keg parties, binge drinking, beer bonging, costume wearing, and foam machines were all part of the Laxers' digs at this tailgating scene.
Anytime foam machines are an integral part of your party equipment, it's a good time.
Yes.
Right.
I've always wanted to get buck wild in a pool full of foam.
Now, have you ever been to a foam party? You ever been somewhere where they cranked it up?
No, I mean, I know of those things, and I've just never went to one.
Okay,
I don't know.
I'm gonna rent the foam gear, and we're gonna have a foam party here at the
It
house.
just didn't seem very hygienic to me.
Foam kind of weirds me. I don't like foam. I don't seek foam out. I don't
Okay.
want it in my beer. I don't want to be overly sudsy when I'm washing my hands. You know, I've never been like, what we
I don't
need.
want to be like sort of sudsy and then like foamy and like touching strangers.
Now, your son Zane could be the foam guy who runs the equipment, and because he loves foam, right?
He does.
He will use an entire bottle of hand soap to make foam.
He loves all that. Now, they had a pit for booze soak dancing and were among the most popular tailgate attraction. I will get that out. Like, folks came from all around just to see what the lacrosse team was doing at the tailgate.
So they're throwing down this big banger party in the parking lot
Yeah.
before every game.
Yes.
Nice.
The football team was not very good, so tailgating was the main attraction. I mean, has Duke really ever had a good football team?
No, but obviously Duke basketball is legendary.
Yes.
Duke UNC rivalry is one of the biggest in the country.
Absolutely.
But both the Tar Heels and the Blue Devils, their football teams are mediocre.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been interested in college basketball. I know very little about football. I hate it. But even I kind of thought that Duke had a shitty football team.
Yeah, I mean they're middle of the road. You know, they're not. You know, they're usually just middle of the road. Kind of, they're not terrible.
Well, you know what
but
they
they're-
say, Dylan? If you're not first, you're last.
Well, that's what they say. That's what
Okay.
Ricky Bobby said.
Yeah, so they suck. Are they winners?
No.
Well, then they're losers. A lot of students were falling down drunk by mid-afternoon and didn't bother showing up to the game at all.
Now that's proper tailgating.
Yes. Athletics were divided at Duke. Some people felt a great sense of pride with the top-tier players and all the accolades that the teams earned, yet other more serious students and faculty were ashamed about the emphasis on sports. Some saw the university bending admission standards and misusing scholarship funds to build teams like Lacrosse. Some professors saw the team members as the mostly well-to-do white boys who were already overrepresented at the school and would rather see the money poured into recruiting diverse students, such as those from the Black and Hispanic community. They supported a club sports program, one that didn't focus so much on competitiveness, and what they felt was a culture of, quote, displacement of moral conduct, ethical citizenship, and personal integrity.
Okay. I just don't know. I think you're going to have, I don't know exactly how to say this. I think you're going to have trouble finding a lot of persons of color to recruit to the lacrosse team. Right?
Possibly, but I think the whole point of that, what I just said, Dylan, is they wanted to get rid of the teams and have club sports.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
So you must not have been listening to what I
So,
said.
so it'd be more like
They were saying instead of the money being poured into the team, it would just be poured into like academic scholarships and to help like get a diverse group of students.
Oh, okay.
Or like disenfranchised students who couldn't have, the financial support or whatever to go to the school.
Okay. So it's not about the lacrosse team. It's not about diversifying it. It's about getting rid of it and reallocating that money for things that would benefit a more diverse group of people.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just said in the paragraph before. Yes, Dylan. Yay, you got it.
I understand now.
Good. So the lacrosse, see, you fucked me up.
I'm sorry.
The lacrosse players also boosted a certain social status, having been born into affluent families. They had attended Northeastern prep schools where lacrosse was huge and planned to make big money in fields like investment banking. In 2005 to the year 2006, 8 of the 10 seniors playing lacrosse planned to begin careers on Wall Street. So the stereotype persisted that they were rich kid entitled with big jock swagger.
Whoa.
Which doesn't sound like a fun combination to me.
No, that sounds like a prick.
These sounds like people I would not really probably want to associate with or hang out with, but I'm just saying.
I'm sure it's not true
These ain't my peeps.
of every person on the team, every person that plays lacrosse, but I'm going to guess a lot of them have a certain type of attitude, and they're probably rather, like you said earlier, rather arrogant. They know they're not going to play lacrosse professionally. I don't think there is such a thing, not in this country anyway. And they're just doing, it's all about, it's linked to the prep schools and the prep high schools and the, $30,000 a year K through 12. They've always been in these elite schools, treated a certain way where the teachers and staff bend over backwards. They get away with murder. So I could imagine this creates a certain type of young person, man or woman.
On Monday, March 13th of 2006, the captains of the Duke lacrosse team hosted a party that was to bring them a great deal of pain, media attention, and ultimately lose their coach a job. The location was a rented house at 610 North Buchanan Boulevard in the Trinity Park neighborhood near East Campus. Also, this would become known as the Evans Flannery Zash House.
Oh, of course. I mean, that makes total sense.
Well, it will when we get into our story.
Okay.
It was spring break, and the campus was largely deserted. Yet most lacrosse players had returned Sunday night to campus after beating Loyola College 9-7 in San Diego in order to resume practice. So Monday morning, the team had a light running and then a weightlifting practice. So despite the fact that it's spring break, they're still training, they're still on campus.
They're still lacrossing, baby.
They are still lacrossing. According to team tradition, they needed to have a bonding party that week. Duke students were living it up on much-needed spring break trips, right? People were hanging out in Panama City, Mexico, Cabo, whatever. And then these guys are just stuck on campus. And the only vacation that they really had was a rainy trip to San Diego to play.
Yeah.
And it never rains in Southern California. But just that one time.
Yeah, and I'm sure, they're all about business. They're going to play, so they don't get much time to themselves. So it probably doesn't feel like much of a trip at all. It feels like work.
The year before, the team had gone to Teaser's Gentlemen's Club, along with a dozen members of the women's team. Yet the local strip club had began cracking down on fake IDs. Many of the younger players would be turned away or didn't even have a fake ID at all. Some of the seniors had an idea. How about we bring the strippers to the team?
What a great idea.
You don't think that's a good idea?
So let's take the stripper out of the club into a private setting where we can have our own party, and it doesn't matter who's underage or what we're drinking or what drugs we're doing. Great plan.
Well, this kind of thing happens all the time.
I would counsel against this if I was one of the members of the team.
You would?
I think it's a terrible idea.
But what if your buddy was getting married and it was a bachelor party? Would you advise against it then? What's the difference?
I don't want to go to it. I don't want to do it. I've seen too many movies where the stripper, somebody accidentally gets killed.
Like Very Bad Things?
Yes.
Isn't that the movie with John Favreau and
all of them?
Cameron Diaz.
Very Bad Things. If you've never seen that movie, you've got to watch it because it is, somebody's going to accidentally get killed.
It's a very dark comedy.
Something crazy is going to happen, and now we're going to have a body we have to get rid of.
I remember not particularly liking that movie when I first saw it. I haven't seen it in years. I should rewatch. Dan Flannery did an online search for female escort services. He actually had to try several before he got someone on the phone. The first 2 had been disconnected. So he was able to reach Allure Escort Services and Bunny Hole Entertainment.
Bunny Hole?
Yeah, Bunny Hole.
That's great. So they're having trouble getting into Teasers to see the strippers in the club.
Yeah.
So now they've been forced to contact Bunny Hole Entertainment.
Yes.
An escort service. Okay.
When Flannery called Allure, he gave them a low ball number. He said between 20 to 30 men might be there, and he requested white dancers for the party.
Okay.
About 15 minutes later, Allure phoned Dan to say they had 2 women in their late 20s, one Hispanic and the other with brown hair and blonde highlights. Their measurements were 36, 25, 35. And for $400 each, the dancers would show up at 11 and perform for 2 hours.
Okay, that's a fair rate, I think.
Yeah, Flannery agreed to the terms and presented a credit card, but then he told them his last name was Flanagan because he was worried about identity theft. However, this will come back and bite him.
So that's okay. That means the payment's not going to go through, right? Seems like to me if you gave him the wrong name on the card.
He paid, well, I think this was like a deposit, and he
Okay.
paid the dancers in cash.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Later, law enforcement will suggest this was a conspiracy by players to conceal their identity, all part of this master plan they had from Jump Street.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind, because we are talking about a crime, Dylan. I think you forgot we were talking about crime when you heard Bunny Hole Entertainment.
Well, yeah, that name alone is criminal.
Well, the basketball team had only 2 weeks before hired strippers for their own party. In the 2005 to 2006 year, it was reported that fraternity, sorority, and athletic teams had hired strippers for more than 20 parties.
Wow.
So this is not an isolated event at campus parties.
So this isn't uncommon.
No.
Okay, certainly.
Which folks should keep in mind.
Right.
Coach Pressler, that is the lacrosse coach, had handed out $10,000 in cash to players that morning for meal money, around $500 per player. Because, like, the cafeteria is closed, they're going to have to make do for the week.
Poor kids.
That's a lot of money.
How in the hell are they going to make
that's
it?
like booster money or something.
How in the hell are they going to eat for a week on $500 as a young person?
Terrible.
Jesus.
Flannery's roommate, David Evans, had already called some of the players to come over for a cookout, which many were already at this house drinking, kind of earlier in the evening. The idea was to have some fun and blow off steam while the others were away. At the cookout, some guys were betting their meal money on beer pong. Others were drinking. Ryan McFadden didn't have any beers. Instead, he was like, I'm just going to show up and eat. And then he was heading back to the gym to work out again, like afterwards. And then he planned that he would get a ride back after he'd worked out to the party. So he's not even like drinking at this party.
Right.
A lot of the players were, but then there were other players who weren't even at the party. And this is all going to be important. This sounds like a fun party, Dylan. They were grilling, playing beer pong, washers, which sounds like a very similar game to beer pong.
Oh, okay.
Listening to music and just having a good time, according to Ryan McFadden.
You know, I've never played beer pong.
You haven't?
No, have you?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, that's too much.
It's stupid.
I'd rather just drink my beer.
I don't want to have to
Think
I mean, that's not the whole point in playing a drinking game.
or try.
Yeah, I don't want to do all that.
You're just drinking.
That's not for me.
Yeah, I don't need to accomplish some other goal to take a drink.
No.
No, I'm just drinking, bro.
I'm like someone, I don't need to play darts to drink. I don't need to do any of that. I don't need to have other goals, okay? If drinking is my goal.
That's when
That's all
people
I need.
are like just hell bent on their beer koozies. I'm like, I've never in my life needed a beer koozie because my beer does not get warm in my hand.
So as everybody's just like chilling and hanging out, Flannery walks around the party and he starts taking up a collection of $25 from each player to pay for these dancers that were coming over. Around 6:10 p.m., Melissa from the Allure agency called Kim Roberts, who was also known as Kim Pittman. Kim was a biracial woman. She's half black, half Korean, who had been working for about 6 months at this agency. And she was also a single mom. She had been in trouble for embezzling from a previous employer. Kim had gotten into trouble for a parole violation when she had run off to California. She had an outstanding warrant for her arrest, but came back to Durham anyway. With few job prospects, dancing was a way to get steady work and pay the bills. She was under the impression that this was a bachelor party with maybe around 15 men.
Oh, okay.
She assumed it was older men at the party because, again, it's a bachelor party. So she's like, oh, this will be a mature group. And she knew she was going to be working with a more experienced dancer in case things got out of control. So she went to Priscilla's to buy an outfit. And I got tickled because I know Priscilla's. It's Priscilla McCall's. And
Yeah.
they have them like all over Raleigh and Durham.
I've seen them before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, that made me laugh because when she said Priscilla, I was like, Priscilla McCall's. They always have like the billboards. When she first arrived at the house, Kim saw it was a Duke party and didn't know if she wanted to stay. There were a lot of young men around. So instead of just like pulling up, she kind of circled around the block before parking and taking a few minutes to observe the situation.
So she's taking the scene in, trying to see what she can figure out, maybe get an idea of how, if the party's already really rowdy or something to that effect.
Yes. Which seems smart.
It is smart, and I could see her, if she thinks it's a bachelor party, I could see her being a bit aggravated that, no, it's indeed a college party, which is quite different.
Exactly.
And it's information she probably would have liked to had beforehand.
Flannery came out to meet her, and he assured her things would not get too crazy and told her they were all graduate students. She told him she was a UNC Chapel Hill graduate, which was also a lie, so they're just mutually lying to each other, and that the other girl would be arriving shortly. Now, according to Flannery, Kim Pittman was sober, alert, and seemed eager to start working. They waited about another 30 minutes for the second dancer, Crystal Mangum, to show up. So Kim goes inside the house, and she ends up in David Evans' room, where he makes her a drink of whiskey and Diet Pepsi. She collected her $400, and at some point she goes outside to smoke with Dan Flannery.
That's right. You always get paid up front for sex work.
The players were surprised when Crystal Mangum showed up, and she was African American.
Okay, right quick. Is it improper to call this sex work a stripper?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, I didn't want to be rude.
No, it is sex work.
Yeah, okay, so now you have a biracial girl,
Yes.
and now the other stripper is African American.
Yes.
Which is, he requested white girls.
Yes.
Okay, I can see this already causing a bit of an issue.
Now, Kim Pittman could pass for Hispanic, like the lady on the phone had said she's Hispanic. But again, they had specifically asked for white dancers. So at first, there was some initial discussion about the show and whether it should proceed, given that the dancers were not quite what they had requested.
Right.
You know, like, can we do this? Is it going to work out? Like, what's going to happen here?
And I wouldn't necessarily view this as like a racist thing or anything. People like what they like. I don't think, do you think it's weird to request race? Or is it any different than saying I want some blondes or brunettes? Do you think it's a normal thing?
I think it rides a line.
You think it's like, I only want to see white girls?
Well, because I'm thinking, well, yeah, I mean, if you want to see dancers, what does it matter? I mean, my attitude is, well, who cares? Like, bring on bring them on. Woohoo. Yeah.
My attitude,
I mean,
hey,
like,
if she's...
bring on, I mean, women are beautiful. So
Yeah.
I would just be happy, especially these dudes, I'd just be happy that women showed up.
I was about to
dance
say,
for me, right?
They should be glad anyone's willing to even come over to their dumbass party
Exactly.
and perform. And I'm all for whatever beautiful woman shows up. It doesn't matter to me. So, yeah.
Well, that's how I feel. So, yeah, I do feel like there was...
It's borderline.
I feel
weird.
like I wouldn't say this isn't racist because, yeah, I mean, I think to an extent, yeah, it's not okay. I mean, they should just be happy.
Rob would just call and say, do you have any girls available?
Right.
And if they were like, yeah, sure, I'd be like, send them over. I wouldn't be like, I only want one with a peg leg. Right?
I guess not.
Yeah.
Unless that's your thing, which,
Yes.
I mean, you were mentioning preferences.
I hope they all both need to have a glass eye, one in the left, one in the right.
That's kind of hot.
If she popped it out.
Dude, chicks with an eye patch.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking hot.
Eye patches are hot.
Like the Daryl Hannah. Like, I've never particularly thought she was that hot, but Daryl Hannah with her eye patch and Kill Bill, like, does things to me.
She went up on the hot scale like 3 points.
She totally did. That's very hot. So when Crystal arrives, Flannery would later say that the single mother of two arrives at the party and that she was already drunk and high. She could hardly stand up and her words were incomprehensible. Guys on the team were commenting on how high she seemed to be.
Wow. So you have one girl who seems to be more professional.
Incredibly professional.
Shows up,
Ready to get to business.
She's checking the scene out, making sure about what's what, kind of negotiating with him. And then the other girl, very unprofessional, shows up drunk and high.
Yes.
Because honestly, this is work. This is being done for money, and you should be professional about it.
Flannery went around alerting everyone that the show was about to begin and encouraging folks to come inside into the living room where the show's going to start.
Come forth and seek it.
They filed into the living room. Flannery told everyone, quote, "Both girls are here and they're chocolate."
Okay. Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Devin Sherwood, the only black player on the team, said, "Hell yeah, bring them in." So I was like, hey, at least somebody there is in good spirits, right?
The one black guy's like, yeah, bring on the girls that aren't white. Yeah, they're undertones.
That's why I was like, no, these guys are mean.
Well, just point at having to say that they're chocolate, or saying, I mean, who the fuck are you, dude? He's gross. This is gross. You're right.
The whole thing is gross.
It feels gross.
Crystal, who is going by Precious, and Kim as Nikki, went to the back of the house to collect the other $400 for Crystal. Okay, so now I'm going to call them by their dancer names. Nikki told Dan Flannery the men needed to be respectful and cited that they did seem to be respectful. She's like, they seem to be okay guys, but I don't want anybody acting up. And if anybody starts acting a fool, we're getting the fuck out of here. I'm just here to tell you.
My stripper name would be Sassy.
It would be?
Yeah.
That's kind of lame.
You think Sassy's lame?
Yeah, I don't think that's good.
What do you think of Star?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon? Ooh, yeah.
Because you're kind of spicy.
Well, yeah, because if you get a big mouthful of me, you're going to be choking.
But rare, because, that's not a super pop. I mean, what do you really use cinnamon for besides, baking?
The cinnamon challenge, baby. Why don't you come take the cinnamon challenge with this big boy over here?
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Cinnamon. I'm cinnamon. I'll be like, hey guys, I'm about to shake his fanny for you. I shouldn't use the word fanny, probably.
Why can't you just say it in your normal voice? Because
yeah. Should I be like, well, I could be a DJ at a strip club. I'll be like, welcome to the stage, coming to the stage, Saffron. Get your dollars ready, fellas. I could do that, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay, I'm cinnamon.
You are looking for a new career.
It's true.
This could work. But you have a shitty playlist.
No,
Dylan would be like, and welcome to the stage, Saffron, and then he'd crank up the saddest Avett Brothers song.
Yeah.
And Dylan would be like the only one jamming in the corner by himself.
Yeah, like the stripper's crying before she gets done with her set.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan.
Yeah. No, excuse me. Cinnamon.
Whatever, DJ Cinnamon. Okay, so she's like, I don't want anybody acting up. And Dan Flannery assured her that the guys would be on good behavior and that the women would be fine and safe. The women changed into costumes, and that's when Precious, puts on her outfit, and they realize that she has a kind of a cut on her knee and foot that she had before she got there.
So they noticed that she has some kind of a wound.
Yes.
Okay. It's noticeable.
Yes.
Okay.
And the show began for about 25 guys who were crammed into this very small living room. It's not a huge house. Nikki felt the show was going well. Nikki noticed the guys weren't just drinking beer, but then sees a bottle of Jack Daniels making the rounds. This kind of starts to make her feel uncomfortable.
Right.
She's like, oh, they're bringing out the hard liquor. I don't know about this.
She's supposed to be there 2 hours. So in 2 hours, the atmosphere can change considerably.
Yes. But the women began simulating an oral sex scene.
Wow. Damn.
Right.
Getting $800 worth.
Flannery recalled that throughout this little play or improv,
this faux sex act,
they were faux sex act, yes,
faux.
That they were doing, that Precious, the crystal dancer, that Crystal Mangum, she just seemed totally out of it. She wasn't into it. She seemed sloppy and drunk and kind of falling down, and it was noticeable that she's intoxicated.
I saw a burlesque show at a birthday party at midnight one time, that was about like that. The performer was drunk
Yeah, well,
And she was almost, but actually she sucked it up and she pulled it off.
Yeah.
No one noticed.
Well, he said her movements were kind of wishy-washy, like she was just really fucked up on something. His words.
So she's like Nell, Tay in the wind with the arms and shit.
Okay, yeah, sure.
She's just totally lost it.
Sure. Nikki took off her bra, but never the underwear of her outfit. Precious had only pulled her top halfway down. So this performance, some thought, was kind of sloppy and pretty lackluster, considering they had paid $800 for this show.
I must say, $800 is a fairly stiff amount for, it's a big amount for a 2-hour show.
Well, and also just the sloppy performance because Precious seems very intoxicated.
Okay, Precious.
So, well,
it's
Crystal, yeah. So these guys are just feeling like they got ripped off because they're like, this is it? Like, this is the show?
So that starts rumbling through the crowd, I would say.
Yeah. Well, according to Nikki, the guys start to get rowdy, and one of them asks, did y'all bring any sex toys? And according to her, one of the guys grabbed a broomstick and said, use this.
No. This is when some of the other guys are supposed to wait a fucking minute. Hold on. No foreign objects. I'm not having any part of this.
Well, she felt unsafe and wanted to get out of the situation.
I don't blame her.
Well, by this point, there are words kind of being exchanged. Like she says to one of them, because your dick's too small to do it, or something like that. So, whatever. They're kind of yelling things back and forth. And that's when Kim grows angry and she tells them, y'all are disrespecting me. And I said no disrespect.
And so the whole atmosphere, the whole thing's kind of going off the rails at this point.
A little bit. And that's when she tells Dan Flannery she wanted to leave. So Kim grabbed Crystal and they headed to David Evans' bedroom. Flannery and Evans, along with 2 other players, follow along to the bedroom and they're apologizing. The guys on the team were upset and felt they had gotten ripped off for the $800. And the guys were just trying to explain, like, we're so sorry, but they kind of feel like they've been ripped off. You performed for like 2 minutes.
Hardly got naked.
It's $800. Come on, guys, And, they felt like they were getting hustled because, again, these women had not even performed for 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is like a 2-minute thing.
And it was like uncoordinated and kind of sloppy.
Yes. So the women went to Kim's car where Crystal continues yelling and screaming, making a scene. This is according to everyone at the party. Frustrated by the scene outside, David Evans, he goes back inside and he tells everybody's got to leave because there's commotion outside. And at this point, the police are going to come and break the party up and we don't want that. So we just need everybody to go home now.
You don't want cops to come when you have strippers outside fighting about money.
Yeah. So at this point, Evans is telling the others, I would pay these women to just leave because they're causing a huge scene outside.
So they're like, it's over. It's just basically over. Everybody just clear out. We'll regroup, figure it out.
Yes.
And just talk about the time we got ripped off by the strippers.
So there's a barrage of racial, verbal assaults being thrown around. Kim yells, quote, limp dick white boys, you had to pay for us.
Ooh,
to these players.
that was a good one.
Of course, then the team members are saying things back to these women. And then Kim tells them, this is a hate crime, and I'm calling the police.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So she did call the police to report what had happened, but she didn't give her name. She said she was driving by Duke, this house, and that these players were yelling racial slurs. And she was like, there's probably not anything you can do about it, but I'm just so upset and wanted to call and let you know.
Wow. So she's misconstruing the entire situation.
Yeah.
By just acting like she's just passing by and these guys are hollering at her.
Well, she's not being 100% truthful, but remember, she doesn't want to give them her name because she has an outstanding warrant.
Well, then don't call the cops. I'm not being mean. Now, if she's feeling unsafe or it feels in danger, obviously reach out for help. But, I mean, look at this situation. Again, being in the mindset of a sex worker, these types of dumb things happen. The guys would always be worked up and goofy and, assholes even. Just get out of there. Get Crystal's drunk ass, stuff her in the car and leave. That's the safest thing to do. This whole words back and forth, and I'm not saying anybody had a right to use any racial slurs, obviously. And I'm sure they started getting hurled because we already had the undertones. You have a bunch of rich white pricks, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But just, yeah, stuff Crystal in the car and get the hell out of there.
Well, by this time, Crystal is stuffed in the car and she's totally passed out at this point.
Nice.
That is when Kim drove to a 24-hour Kroger parking lot where she asked a security guard to help her with Crystal. She's like, there was this drunk lady in my car. I need help getting her out. She won't get out of my car. And Kim made it sound like, well, I'll get to that in a minute. So the security guard calls the police and they come down to help Crystal get out of this car. Now, there's an officer in the meantime who had gone to that North Buchanan Street address to check out the report of someone yelling racial slurs. But by this point, he finds it completely quiet. It's abandoned. There's no one around. Nearly everyone had left for home or to nearby bars. The same officer is the one who went to Kroger to take this call.
Oh, he's already in the area.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Kim tells him that she had seen Crystal walking near where these men were yelling obscenities and picked her up because she felt this woman's life could be in danger and that she was intoxicated. So it took officers about 45 minutes to figure out she was lying and that the women had met at the party earlier where they were hired to strip.
Yeah, I mean, if they go back and talk to anyone around that address, this is it's just really dumb to lie in this situation, I think.
Well, due to Crystal's level of intoxication and lack of any kind of ID, I mean, she was so drunk, she didn't know her address, her phone number, anybody to call. She was completely unhelpful to police. So they decided to admit her to Durham Access Center, which is a halfway house sort of emergency room setting for indigents with substance abuse and psychological crises. Crystal Mangum met the criteria for involuntary commitment as she was aggressive, she was fighting the cops, and she wasn't able to speak or walk. She had gone to jail, had she gone to jail, for a 24-hour hold, it might have changed the course of what happened because Crystal Mangum's children, she had 2 children, they were home alone, asleep while she was out working.
Oh my God, Crystal.
So she told the officer that her children were home alone once she got to the center. And that's when this discussion came up about your kids are home alone. She starts to realize, oh shit.
You can't do that. That's neglect. Blah,
This
blah, blah.
officer, I can't let him know my kids are home alone. They could be taken from me, And that's when she tells the intake clerk at the center that she had been raped.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Now, in that moment, the situation where she might lose her kids and face criminal charges slipped away to perform a sexual assault examination. On the ride to Duke Hospital, Crystal Mangum told the driver about how Kim had stolen $2,000 of her money, her purse, and her ID. But she said nothing on this car ride about the alleged rape that had just happened, supposedly, right? Around 2:45 a.m., Crystal Mangum told the female officer at the hospital that she was a stripper who'd been hired for a party at North Buchanan. They put on a show for the men and then went outside, got into Nikki's car. She said someone from the party wanted them to come back in, but she didn't want to go. And that Kim, a.k.a. Nikki, had wanted to go back inside to make more money, but Crystal did not want to go. She said some of the men pulled her out of the car and groped her, but none had raped her. The officer called his watch commander to say that the woman had recanted the rape story. Crystal then said, no, she was raped, but refused to talk to this officer further. She said something about being dragged into a bathroom and raped, but she wasn't really speaking very directly or coherently about it.
Right. She's kind of came around a little bit and realized that she's in a hairy situation, it seems like. But she's still quite intoxicated, I'm sure.
Well, this officer initially felt this woman was lying. The female officer that was also present heard Crystal's version that 5 men had raped her in the bathroom at the North Buchanan house. Crystal then revised her story to say she may have deposited some of the missing money into her bank account earlier. So perhaps that all the $2,000 hadn't been stolen. It was just some of it, maybe.
So could you imagine from the investigator's point of view, you're looking into this and this girl's all over the place. But you also wonder, because she is really drunk, maybe she's just kind of confusing. Maybe something really did happen and she's just having trouble conveying exactly the events. So I don't know. I could imagine they're kind of not sure what to think about this.
A nurse conducted a sexual assault test kit. And while this lady is asking her questions and they're kind of going through all the questionnaire part of it, Crystal tells her she has been raped. The nurse noted that Crystal did seem anxious. When asked about her pain scale, she said it was a 10, but the nurse was able to determine there was no acute pain. She told a doctor there was pain in her vagina, but the doctor found no evidence of vaginal pain like during the exam. After this exam, police determined the house and property fell under Duke's jurisdiction and should be handled by the university's police department. In the Duke police report, the officer noted, quote, Crystal Mangum was claiming to be raped by approximately 20 males at 610 North Buchanan Street, noting that Crystal had changed her story multiple times. Durham Police considered this and said there would likely be no charge other than maybe a misdemeanor simple assault of the house occupants, if there was any charge at all. Because, the initial officer is like, this woman's changing her story. I don't know if I believe her.
And this is the university police's assessment.
Yes.
The police, okay.
When they get the report from
Right.
the Durham Police Department. Yeah. Now, despite transferring the case to the Duke Police, Durham's police department continues to make inquiries about this. Around 7 a.m., a SANE nurse, which means sexual assault nurse examiner, met with Crystal. Per Duke Hospital's policy, all victims must meet with a trained, certified sexual assault nurse. So according to her, and this is according to Crystal, one of the men, whose name was Brett, had asked for a threesome. She declined. She was then dragged into the bathroom by Brett and a guy named Adam. Also, a man she thought was named Matt.
Yeah, and we also must remember, now she's in the Duke University Hospital now.
Yes.
And Duke University Hospital and UNC Chapel Hills Hospital, they're world renowned for how good they are.
Yes.
Everything's cutting edge. And my mom lives there, and they found a cancer in her very, very early on, colon cancer, and I'm certain saved her life. And so she's in a very very prestigious hospital.
Yeah, very highly
So
skilled.
she's getting the best care at this point.
Absolutely. Now, according to Crystal, they ordered her to take her clothes off, what she was wearing. They then proceeded to rape her vaginally, orally, and anally. She even told the nurse that was the reason her breath smelled bad, because of the oral sex. Crystal could not be sure if the men had used condoms, but she thought they had not. She said all three men had ejaculated but wiped her down with a rag in the bathroom afterwards. Dr. Julie Manley did the pelvic exam, taking swabs of Crystal's vagina, mouth, and rectal area. She also collected blood, skin, and saliva samples. These would prove to be essential pieces of evidence in the weeks to follow. The only physical trauma on Crystal's body were 3 small scratches on her leg, which, again, she had these before dancing.
But they don't know that.
Right. She said she had intercourse 1 week before without a condom, but had not had intercourse recently with anybody.
Right. So that's outside the window.
Yes.
Of someone else's sperm being present in her vaginal area.
Right.
Okay.
The pelvic exam took over an hour because Crystal kept screaming out with extreme pain, though the doctor noted she had no outward signs of pain, meaning like sweating, facial distress, changes in vital symptoms. Due to this, the sexual assault team, they were not able to complete this exam. So there was no pelvic or rectal exam, no forensic toxicology report, or blood test taken.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a big deal. Now, I would imagine in this, if you've been forcibly raped by one person, let alone multiple people, up to 5, it seems to me like there would be quite a bit of trauma.
Yes.
Seems like there'd be visible trauma, some maybe tearing or bruising. It seems like you would have fingerprint bruises starting to come up all over your arms and legs. So, yeah, this is very interesting.
The doctor did find a white substance, some kind of vaginal discharge, which she did not mention on the report. She didn't test the fluid for semen and would later say it was likely from a yeast or some other kind of vaginal infection. Doctor, yeah.
I kind of thought Crystal might have a yeast infection. I'm not being mean. She seems kind of, whoa.
Why? Okay.
Well, showing up sloppy drunk for one, and now she's doing all this. Now she's doing all this. I mean, she's lying.
So you're saying that lying-ass woman's going to have a yeast infection?
I just think I'm
We
sorry.
haven't even gotten to the story yet, Dylan. Will you just stop? I don't even know what you're talking about, but you're going to have a lot of hate from women out there. She did have vaginal swelling, which could be caused by sex. It could also be caused by having sex within 24 hours of the exam, smoking, using Flexeril, a muscle relaxant, which we will find out later that Crystal had taken Flexeril, and also antidepressants could cause this. It is known that Crystal had used a vibrator, had sex with her driver, and may have had a yeast infection prior to March 14th. So that information she has divulged, or would divulge later. Despite the lack of physical evidence, the nurse was sure Crystal had been raped. All other medical professionals who examined Crystal noted her body was normal and that she seemed to have no obvious discomfort. But this nurse wrote in her notes that Crystal showed signs of rape trauma, starting in which she began screaming at a male nurse who entered the room.
And this is the sane nurse, the specialty sexual assault.
Yes. And oh, by the way, she is the same nurse, but she's not fully certified. She's still like
in training.
In training, yes.
Okay. But I got to imagine her opinion carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. She was released around 1 p.m. on Tuesday and told to check in with her primary care doctor regarding any bacteria that might be in her throat, anus, mouth, or cervix. Crystal called a Durham police detective to inquire about her stolen property. She believed Kim Roberts had taken her purse and her money and I believe a shoe. So she is telling this detective, this woman has stolen my stuff. I want to get it back. But at no point in the conversation did she mention being raped or assaulted the night before.
Okay, so, that's a valid point. I mean, if you had just been horribly raped by multiple people or one person, seems like that would be your foremost thought, not getting your property back.
She made an appointment with this investigator to discuss what she felt like was a stolen purse and her stolen money, but she ended up missing that appointment with the investigator.
Now I really need that one shoe back because I have this other shoe and I really like the shoes, and I don't know why I have just the one shoe, but she needs to get my shoe back.
The assistant dean of students was informed of the allegations by Duke Police. Soon, the coach, Mike Pressler, was called. The team was at an annual bowling tournament when he received this phone call. That is when Pressler confronted his 4 co-captains.
So the news is kind of spreading.
Yes. He said, quote, "I told them they were being charged with rape," he said in an interview with Men's Health magazine. Quote, "And look, I was livid that they'd had a party. Livid. But when I told them they were being accused of rape, the absolute look of astonishment in their eyes told me they were innocent."
Okay.
Now, according to Pressler, he spent every day with those boys. He knew their parents, their brothers and sisters. They spent time in his house with his family, and he didn't believe these allegations were true.
So he feels like he knows these young men very, very well.
Yes.
And that he would, I guess that's a point to make. As a group, you say, hey, look, this is what's happening. This is what this is turning into. I think their genuine reaction, you should be able to make a call on that for the most part, right? Whether you believe them or not.
I mean, it depends. It would be tricky. I mean, it would be like if your child was accused of something, or your best friend or your like someone you spend a lot of time with, and you could argue all day, this is an amazing person, but they could still be a creep, you know?
It's true.
I mean, I'm sure, John Wayne Gacy's wife was like, my husband's great or whatever. I don't know.
What's a cliche of the neighbor or their friend or family to say I never could imagine they would do that. And this is the same in this instance.
Exactly. So again, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough call. because people are capable of doing very, very shitty things to others.
And sometimes if it's someone you're close with or believe in,
Your judgment is
yeah.
clouded.
Yes. Yes.
Sue Waziolek, assistant dean of students, told the players not to lawyer up. This is her advice. She told them not to tell anyone about this situation, including their parents, and that she didn't think the charges would stick because the victim was, quote, unreliable. Dan Flannery, who had been on this phone call with Waziolek, would say, quote, "We believed, albeit falsely, that these people would look after our best interests, in accordance to her advice," because again, she's the assistant, like, dean of students, right? So she's got a pretty important role at the school. They take her advice and they don't tell their parents.
And they don't contact any attorneys. And they're just waiting to see what happens next.
Yeah, and just trying to be cooperative and just do what they're told at this point. Mangum returned to North Carolina Memorial Hospital in Chapel Hill with complaints of neck pain. So this is like the following day after she's been released that morning. So this would probably be like late afternoon.
When are they going to talk to the other dancer?
Well, we'll get to that.
Because that should quickly solve it in my book.
She told the doctor she had been raped at a party and was not feeling very well and had no pain when it happened because she was intoxicated, but that now she was, sober and was having this very painful neck, couldn't turn her neck, whatever injury. And they sent her to x-ray and they prescribed her Flexeril, which seems like she really likes this because she had Flexeril before the party along with, I believe, a beer.
Which
and now she's getting more Flexeril.
Could explain why she seemed so out of it.
Yeah.
Because Flexeril and other muscle relaxers don't really mix with alcohol very well.
They don't. So the doctor noted that due to Crystal's bipolar disorder and past history of high-risk narcotics abuse, she should not be prescribed anything for pain, that the muscle relaxant would suffice. By the following day, after the alleged rape, Durham Police were focusing on the incident despite having turned it over to Duke Police. Crystal Mangum was working as a stripper at Platinum Pleasures near Hillsborough and going to school at North Carolina Central University. She also worked at Angel's Escort Service, but explained to law enforcement that she was only a dancer and not a prostitute. In the days following, police interviewed her at home, and she seemed to have difficulty walking and was propped up on the couch with pillows so that her buttocks was almost like raised up off the sofa.
Okay.
And police were noting this. And when she got up to answer the door and led them back of the house, she was wobbling.
Gingerly moving.
And seemed like she was in a lot of pain. They gave her a photo lineup with some of the lacrosse players' pictures. But the only person she could identify was a player named Reed Seligman. She told them during the assault that she had broken 4 of her red fingernails off into the bathroom. Of the men she identified, several had not been at the party at all. Durham Police did not seem to be fazed at all that she couldn't pick out faces from this photo lineup.
Well, maybe they're considering the fact that she was intoxicated while she was there. And maybe they're just thinking that her memory's foggy.
But they don't know that.
Oh.
I mean, not necessarily because they didn't do blood draw.
That's true.
I mean, they might know that she was, but they don't know exactly how intoxicated.
So they're just, even though it's been turned over to Duke University Police, they're still forging ahead with their own investigation, which in a way I think smart police work because you had it originally. You don't want anything to get missed or go cold. But it seems, I don't know, it seems like they're intent on making this a case. Would you say that?
Yes.
Okay.
A search warrant was drawn up, and there were 12 items specifically that the police wanted to find. DNA evidence such as blood, semen, hair, saliva. They were looking for a blue rug, like a bathroom rug. Mangum's lost money, her purse, missing shoe, 4 fake fingernails, and photographs or digital images from the party, which might be on phones, computers, cameras.
Wow. And I would say if they found any of that evidence, it would be damning.
On the warrant, the crimes were listed as first-degree forcible rape, first-degree kidnapping, first-degree forcible sexual offense, common law robbery, and felonious strangulation.
Wow.
On March 16th, the warrant was signed by a magistrate. It was around 8:47 p.m. that two officers went to the Buchanan address. The gentleman, Zash, I say gentleman, he's a player on the team. His last name is Zash. He explained that the woman's purse and items had been outside the house on the grass after the party and that he had brought them in for safekeeping. Zash agreed to go to the station, and he ended up giving a 5-page written statement about what had happened on the night in question. So he's very cooperative. Dan Flannery signed a non-custody form and wrote out a 6-page statement about what had happened from his perspective. David Evans, who's the third roommate at this house, also signed a non-custody form and wrote a 7-page statement about the night's events. One of the detectives told Flannery he should tell his parents and they should get lawyers.
Yeah, and so they're writing all these rather big statements, multiple pages.
And by the way, this is the first time, so we're 3 days after the party before police are getting statements from these men or have interviewed them at all. They just show up at their house with a search warrant.
3 days after.
Yes.
Oh, and they're making all these statements without the advice of attorneys.
Exactly.
Wow.
The 3 men then agreed to a voluntary suspect kit process at Duke Hospital. Each player gave samples of blood, hair, saliva, and pubic hair samples. Each agreed to be photographed. They all 3 agreed to submit to polygraphs, though law enforcement told them that wasn't necessary. Flannery and Evans had told one of the investigators that a guy named Kevin Coleman had been taking pictures at the party that night, including ones of Crystal being passed out on the back porch, and that they would get copies for the police.
Okay.
And I've seen these pictures.
Really?
Yeah, they're on the internet.
Wow.
And she is, like, kind of sprawled out on the back porch.
That's not fun. I mean, I don't know. I don't find that, like, when people are passed out like that, I don't think it's funny, and I don't think I wouldn't be taking pictures, I guess.
Soon after, the police released the information about the rape on a digital bulletin board. Soon the story was making its way around to administrators at Duke University. Chris Kennedy, who was head of the athletics program, told the 3 players to call their parents and hire lawyers. He was very frustrated that they had not done this despite having been given this advice from the assistant dean of students.
Yeah.
He was like, no, I don't care what she told you. You need to call your parents and you need to get lawyers. Like, what are y'all thinking? This is crazy. This is not cool.
I mean, that would be my first thought. I don't care what anyone told me, especially if I'm innocent. My first thing would be to contact my parents and say, yeah, we need a high-powered lawyer.
Okay. So this is where things are going to get a little murky, Dylan. An attorney brought in by Dean Waziolik. Now, that's the lady that is the assistant dean of students that told them, do not hire a lawyer. Don't tell your parents. We're going to keep this under wraps for now. She brings in an attorney. His name is J. Wesley Covington, and he is here to handle any potentially embarrassing legal problems. Waziolik said he was a wonderful attorney with lots of experience, yet the truth was he had little experience as a criminal attorney at all. Also, he had been disbarred in 2000 for ethical violations, so he wasn't even licensed to practice law in North Carolina.
What the hell?
Covington also told the young men, y'all just need to lay low and not worry about hiring attorneys. If you just follow the Duke University playbook as it's laid out for you, everything's going to be okay.
Now, do you think, I'm starting to think the assistant dean's true intent was to keep this quiet, and her bigger concern was Duke and the university?
I believe so.
Right. Okay.
Later court documents filed by the athletes' attorneys will say, quote, Covington was careful never to enter into a formal client-attorney relationship with most of the players or their parents while repeatedly advising them and urging them to allow him to work on their behalf and to not retain other counsel while secretly acting on behalf of Duke University and its administrators.
That's messed up.
That's super messed up.
And here's the.
And he's not even a fucking lawyer. He's been disbarred.
Well, I'm saying, and here's the slime ball who would do something like this because this is the reason he's disbarred, because this is unethical.
The Duke Chronicle, which I believe is the school newspaper, broke the story officially on Sunday night, which was nearly a week later after the party had taken place. It took place on Monday night, so this is almost a week later. Finally, Kim Roberts was contacted by police. So it took a long time to get her on the phone.
Dude, that would have been like 2 hours into this. I'd be like, okay, I need to talk to the other dancer. I want to talk to everyone at the party. And that's the first thing we do.
Now, finally, they are able to get Kim on the phone, and she tells them what happened and how she had been with Crystal for the whole night, save for maybe 5 minutes when she could not get Crystal to leave the house.
Okay.
Like she's having to kind of physically try to drag her to the car.
You're right.
She said the rape allegation was, quote, a crock.
Okay.
Agreeing to meet later for a formal statement, Kim didn't show up to talk to police, and they had to track her down. While trying to locate Kim, detectives spoke with Brian Taylor, who happened to be a friend of Crystal Mangum's, who had driven her to the party that night. He said she had a beer and a half at his house, and he wasn't sure about the drugs.
Okay. Well, beer and a half's not going to get her into the state she was in when she arrived. I think everybody agrees, including Kim, that she was tore down. So, okay.
A Durham attorney named Robert Ekstrand had heard the players were cooperating and willing to give up these DNA cheek swabs without legal representation. And he was so angry when he heard this. I believe he was also like a Duke alumni, and he hears the story and he is like, what? And then he finds out this guy Covington is sort of offering legal advice to these boys through the administration. And he is like, this guy's mad. So he sets about calling the parents of all the players.
Yeah, so this Covington, is that the greaseball lawyer guy? So, yeah, he's careful not to enter into an official relationship with so that means they have no attorney-client privilege. But they're divulging all the inside info to him.
Right.
So that's a mess.
So Ekstrand, he gets on the phone and he's calling all the parents. And for many, it was the first time they'd heard anything about the party or the rape charges. So you can imagine these parents are beside themselves.
I bet these parents are pissed.
Yes. Since the dean and coach had gone along with not telling the parents or hiring legal counsel, these families were shocked. I mean, they were just like, what is going on at this school? When Kim Roberts finally agreed to sit down, she wrote out a 7-page statement for police. Then she was served with the warrant for the parole violation that she had.
Right.
The statement didn't say the allegation was a crock, but did back up that they were together for most of the night. Later, some of the players' attorneys would argue that Durham Police tried to make a deal with Roberts that if she would alter her version of what had happened that night to create a fictional window of opportunity where it might have been plausible for Crystal to be raped in exchange for possibly dropping these charges.
The other legal charges or the other charges she had before.
Yeah. Police then wanted to get a judge to sign off on a non-testimonial order, which would require lacrosse players to submit to DNA testing. If they would not voluntarily give up the DNA, then a judge could force them to do it. The order would require 46 team members, excluding the one black player, to give up DNA. They would also need to submit to upper body photographs, which could show potential injuries, what their current hairstyle is, to make it a little easier in a lineup and to get a good idea of their injuries, right?
Right.
In order to establish probable cause for this NTO, the paperwork stated that the victim told police she had been raped and sexually assaulted at the Buchanan Street address when they had met her at Kroger. But she had not made the declaration until later in the evening when she realized that involuntary commitment was on the play. So I think the whole time people are kind of forgetting that part of the story.
That she did not begin with saying she was raped.
Yes.
Right.
Once the NTO was signed, the players showed up at the forensic lab. Most of the young men had bruises and scratches on their bodies from playing lacrosse.
It's a rather
Because this is like a week later.
yeah.
They've been practicing. They've been beating the shit out of each other. And so none of these injuries are likely from a week before.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it would be hard to differentiate what could have come from this party and what happened on the field.
Lacrosse is I liken it in my head to kind of rugby because there's a whole lot of contact and there's very
Sticks.
very little padding.
Exactly.
Huh.
Reed Seligman, the one guy that she said with certainty had been one of the guys,
Right.
had a bruise down his arm from practice, and police were photographing it and documenting his arm, saying things like, "Get a picture of this. You got to get a picture of this bruise."
Well, now I wonder why the now you think this is just one of the case with the Durham police when they have a theory and they think they're right
Yes.
and they're going to tunnel vision it out.
I think so. And then we're going to get into another big player in this story that's coming up. And I'm very detailed on the first part of this because I just think it's such interesting background and all the details, and it helps us better understand what's happening.
Oh, I certainly remember this case. It was a big case, especially here in North Carolina, and but I did not know any of these details. So thank you.
Well, once the media got this story, it was like catnip. There were many preconceived notions in the press. The stories focused around racism, classism, sexism. The district attorney, Mike Nifong, this guy is going to play a huge role in this case. He was up for re-election and trailing badly in the polls behind his opponent, Frida Black, which this was in an upcoming primary race for the Democratic district attorney seat.
Oh my gosh.
Nifong, who had been named to the seat just previously to fill in for someone who had left, had fired Frida Black the year before. So if she won, she would probably return the favor and fire him 2 years before he was to get his maximum monthly pension payments.
Oh.
So, like, he can't lose this election.
You know, I've always had issue with the DAs and judges and things like that having being political. I honestly think it should be simply merit based. I don't think we need to know our DA and judges whether they're Republican or Democrat. Personally, I think we should go off of how they act and rule from the bench and how they carry themselves at the table as the DA. Do you agree? Or do you think the politics matter?
I'm not getting into all that right now.
Okay.
But that's a great question that we can discuss later.
Oh, wow.
Now, many think Nifong took charge of the Duke case to increase visibility when his campaign was losing steam. Nifong told his campaign manager that this case would be worth $1 million of free advertising. And boy, he wasn't wrong.
And see, this is the exact reason I disagree with it being done like that, because it gives them a motivation to try to get political capital out of a case.
So let's talk about Crystal Mangum for a few moments, Dylan. Like, she's at the center of the story. Let's learn a little bit about her. She was born in Durham, the youngest of 3 children raised in a working-class neighborhood. In 1996, she graduated from Hillside High School. On August 18th of 1996, Mangum reported to police in Creedmoor, North Carolina, that in June of 1993, when she was 14, she had been gang raped by men who lived in a house on Hillsborough Street. An officer told her she would need to write out a detailed chronological. I
was like, wow.
I know.
Damn.
That's like a Dylan word.
Chronological. That's how
know.
you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the other day when you said it was minimalizing.
Minimalized.
And I said, do you mean minimizing? And you were like, no, minimalizing.
I need to minimalize it.
Well, this is chronologically Dylan.
Okay.
So if she writes out this chronological, look, it's late.
She's trying to minimalize her actual involvement in these
My
events.
mistake, yeah. So if she would write out this report on what had happened, then they would be able to pursue charges. But Crystal never did that. The men were never arrested, and the matter was dropped. She enlisted in the Navy in 1996 and spent 2 years on active duty, 6 years on reserve duty. She moved to Virginia Beach, Virginia Beach, where she went to school to learn to operate radios and navigation equipment. In 1997, she married Kenneth McNeil. He was illiterate, and Crystal taught him how to read. And one thing that he said, even though at this point in time they were divorced, is that she was like a very gentle teacher and like never judged him
Right.
for not being able to read.
Yeah. I mean, like you have a new girlfriend, you'd be like, look, I always have a special place in my heart for her because she taught me how to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Well, could you imagine
No.
getting the opportunity to teach an adult how to read?
The couple moved to Concord, California, where Crystal was assigned to the USS Mount Hood. When she went out to sea, the marriage became strained. The couple fell behind on bills, and Kenneth McNeil told his wife she could make some money dancing, but she wasn't ready to do that at this point in time. But Crystal did fall in love with another sailor, who would later become the father of her 2 children.
Because she's in love with a sailor.
Yeah. So she begins this affair with this other sailor. Her marriage is falling apart. The bills are falling behind.
Man, that sounds like your stint in the Navy.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I was just falling in love with all the sailors. She divorced McNeil, and about 6 months later, she was discharged from the Navy. But I couldn't find any indication of what type of discharge it was. By 2003, the relationship with her child's father had dissolved. He was ordered to pay child support, and I think he paid her about $400 a month. Crystal returned to Durham, where she worked several jobs in sales, and she also worked at a computer factory, doing assembly work. Crystal had her first brush with the law in 2002. She tried out to be a dancer at the Diamond Girls Club, and she didn't get the job, by the way. Let me tell you why. She was tasked with giving men lap dances, and the manager said she was, quote, acting kind of funny.
Okay.
She gave a lap dance to a taxi driver and asked him if he would give her a ride home. He told her yes, but he needed to use the restroom first. That is when Crystal finagled the keys from his pocket and stole his Chevy Caprice.
What the hell?
How dare you steal a man's Caprice?
What the hell, Crystal?
Look, my daddy had this Caprice that he bought for a good deal off somebody. It was this big old blue Caprice. And you can tell him nothing when he was driving that car.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He'd be like, this is a luxury vehicle. And he'd be sitting in it.
It's very comfortable.
He was all about it.
It's like riding a comfy couch down the road.
Yes, exactly.
Big bench seat.
She was driving the car on the wrong side of the road with no headlights when police caught her. She made officers chase her speeding away over 20 miles per hour over the speed limit. So she's in this high chase pursuit with cops. Ending up at a dead-end road, she tried to drive through a fence. She refused to get out of the car, nearly backed into an officer, and hit the side of his patrol car.
What was the point of all this?
The alcohol blood level of Crystal was 0.19, nearly 2 times the legal limit.
Wow.
She was given 3 consecutive weekends in jail, plus 2 years probation for the misdemeanor larceny, speeding to elude arrest, assault on a government official, and a DWI. That's a lot.
She just wanted to go home.
She did, apparently.
What the hell? Like, will you give me a ride? Sure, just let me hit the can right quick. And you come back out and the bitch is gone in your car.
Maybe she had to go to the bathroom.
Damn.
Maybe she really had to go poop. And she didn't want to do it at the strip club.
I saw this woman was crying when the cops pulled her over that she wouldn't stop, and finally they could make her stop. And she's like, I have to poop.
Yeah.
She's like, please don't take me to jail. And he's like, oh, you're going to jail. And she's like, I'm going to poop in your car. And he's like, don't poop in my car. And she's like, I'm pooping right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that was what was going to happen.
Okay.
After this incident, Crystal seems to get back on track. She got a job at a nursing home. However, she didn't get paid because she refused to submit her criminal record to the employer and had what they considered an incomplete hiring file.
Yeah.
So she left before handing over this record. So she would rather quit and not get paid than to just give them her police record.
Crystal's making a lot of really good choices so far.
Her father said the criminal record didn't keep her from getting odd jobs, though he was not aware that she worked for this escort service. She started going to school at North Carolina Central University and was also working as a dancer/escort.
And she was in the Navy.
Well, this is after the Navy.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying she went. I applaud her for having the guts to go into the armed forces
Yeah.
and going through that.
Okay.
I appreciate anyone who does that. I appreciate your service or anyone, because I don't have the guts to go through boot camp. Well, I don't know if guts is the right word, but you can't tell me what to do. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think with your gut, you could probably not make it through boot camp.
Oh, okay. So this is how this is going to finish up. Let's wrap it up now.
Yeah.
No, I could have made it, but I have a problem with authority.
Okay.
Yeah, because I am the authority.
Okay. Yeah, I can see you trying to like run your PFA test
Yeah.
and smoke at the same time.
Well, when I was 20, I could have done it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you. Yeah, that's why you did it.
Now I'm just going to cosplay soldier and walk around town with like an AK slung across my shoulder and like plate vests on.
A cost patriot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cost patriots.
In the coming days, Duke canceled lacrosse games against Georgetown and some of the other teams. The parents were upset and angry. They were demanding meetings with school officials. Up until now, no charges had been filed. Parents wanted to know if other team sports were being canceled because they held parties. It was hard for the school to defend its decision because they have all these other teams who've had parties, who've had strippers at the parties, and they're not getting their seasons canceled.
And there's still no charges.
Still no charges.
Wow.
After the release of information to the press, some 175 outraged community members showed up to the Buchanan Street house to hold a candlelight vigil as a protest of the alleged crimes. The group included students, neighbors, and Duke faculty and staff. No lights were on inside the house, though people could be seen, like in the darkness, their silhouettes. The following day, which was a Sunday morning, around 150 protesters returned to the house for a, quote, wake-up call against sexual assault. Others walked around the corner to Markham Avenue, where Duke Provost Peter Lang lived, and they banged pots and pans in front of his house.
Yeah, you're not going to have any in this area. People do not mind to protest and speak out against things they believe is wrong. So it doesn't surprise me at all that people are turning out for Crystal, the victim in this case, the way they view it.
Bunch of damn liberal elites at that college.
Well, no, I mean, it's young people, it's college towns, multiple colleges.
I'm just making fun.
Yeah,
okay? We're
right.
allowed to make fun.
Right.
Though the players adamantly denied a rape had occurred, it was backed up by others who were at the party saying no rape had occurred. No one wanted to hear that, it seemed. They didn't want to hear that version of the story. Everybody seemed to be supporting Crystal's version of events. Some of Duke's faculty and staff urged the community to continue protesting, planning an ongoing response to the, quote, rape. Protesters showed up in front of the Allen building, demanding the firing of Coach Pressler. Duke made the decision to remove the team from their website, goduke.com, shutting down the roster, which included pictures and other information about these players. So they've removed the entire team from this website.
Wow.
In the meantime, Nifong and the detectives realized how botched the investigation had been. No one had gone to the house the night Crystal made her statements, but they'd waited 3 days to get a search warrant. No one had spoken to the players that night. No one seemed to be concerned about the inconsistencies in Crystal's story or that the other dancer was supposedly in the house when the attack happened. No one seemed to notice that Crystal could not pick her attackers out from the photo lineup or that the players had been cooperative with law enforcement.
Yeah. I don't understand how all this was overlooked by so many people. And look, I was on the wagon with the pots and pans protesters because I was just like, those fucking pieces of shit.
Dude, when this story broke, now I totally thought these guys are shitbags.
I just assumed they were rich pricks.
Well, I think everybody did.
And jocks on top of that, and they thought they could do anything they wanted to this poor woman. That's exactly what I thought for quite a while when this broke.
One of the players, Ryan McFadden, now you remember I spoke about him in the beginning. He's the one that had come for the cookout, left to go to the gym.
Wasn't drinking,
and then came back like much later.
Okay.
So immediately following the party, McFadden had sent out an email to the other team members that he called a kind of a dark American Psycho-inspired email.
Okay.
Like, he was a big fan of the book by Bret Easton Ellis. And this was just basically saying that, like, he was going to kill, like, oh, we'll just have all the strippers come over and we'll kill them.
So it was some dumb joke.
It was a dumb email, for real. But police got their hands on the email and they ran with it. Nifong said it was proof they had, quote, intent to carry out a serious crime. A warrant was drafted to search his dorm room, though he had not been named as an attacker. The email, which had garnered several responses from others who recognized that there was an American Psycho reference, that was all lost on Nifong.
Right.
Like, he doesn't get that it's...
He didn't get it.
No. He saw it as a conspiracy to commit murder. The officers added that as the sixth crime.
And these are very serious charges. Kidnapping alone can carry like a 20, 25-year sentence.
So on this warrant to search Ryan McFadden's dorm room, they hope to find items relating to the crime scene, including Crystal's shoe, digital photographs, recordings, and about $340 in $20 bills. It's funny, it went from $2,000 to now it's $340.
Yeah. And where's the shoe? I still need to know where the shoe's at.
Detectives noted there were hand-drawn penises on the walls with nicknames and jersey numbers, along with a hangman's noose on a light fixture, which just further adds to this young man just being a horrible delinquent.
Right.
You got a bunch of dicks drawn on your wall.
Not only that, the dicks have jersey number. Have jerseys and numbers on them. They probably had their own names. And then I could also see the noose.
It makes me think of Jonah Hill in Superbad.
Yeah.
When he gets caught with the notebook full of dicks. Yeah.
And I'm sure the noose could be played up on from the racial angle, which I think is a dumb thing to. I don't think nooses are cool, personally. Do you?
No.
I'm not going to have a noose in my collection.
No. Because
just the very symbol of a noose, not for the racial, things here in America, but it's just I don't know. It's like a gross thing to me. Nooses gross me out.
No, I had a very tragic death of someone in my family with a rope swing.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not okay with a noose.
It's not something you're going to tie up and put up for decoration.
No. Professors addressed entire classes, which were half lacrosse players, and they were citing that it was material fact that a rape had occurred. Many of the players got up and left class. A player was slapped by another student in public while being verbally reprimanded. Like, why were you there? Why did you let this happen? You support rapists.
Wow. I got to say, especially it's easier to, now that we know all the facts have came out and we know what really happened. I feel bad for these young men. I mean, this is terrible. This is one of those things, even if you're proven not guilty in the court of law, the court of public opinion's already passed judgment on you.
Oh, dude. I mean, it did hardcore for these guys. Meanwhile, the DNA was being analyzed from Crystal's clothes and the swabs that had been taken. Roy Cooper, now governor, was attorney general at the time, and he asked the State Bureau of Investigation's lab to expedite testing on these DNA items. One of the forensic biologists who was working in the lab wrote that it would be futile to test these items because there was nothing to test. No semen, saliva, or blood. The rape kit and clothing had no evidence of blood, semen, or saliva, and that they would be able to wrap up their testing if there was no further evidence to share.
Yeah, so there's nothing to test.
There's nothing here. The results would be negative for any DNA match between Mangum's rape kit, the clothing, and the Duke players. Instead of dropping the case, District Attorney Nifong, he doubles down.
Okay.
Police informed Crystal that the DNA tests came back negative. Despite the North Carolina rules of professional conduct that required prosecutors to refrain from making extrajudicial comments that have a substantial likelihood of heightening public condemnation of the accused, Nifong continued to publicly decry the players. He told the news media the DNA was bulletproof and would reveal who the attackers were. He told the media he might file charges against others who didn't stop the attack. Because by now, defense attorneys had told the players to remain quiet on the issue, as most lawyers advise their clients. Duke faculty, law enforcement, and Nifong began calling it a wall of silence, as though the players were not being cooperative.
So he gets DNA evidence. It's all been expedited from the state lab.
Yes.
Very good, very professional lab. Nothing across the board. Like absolutely nothing. And he still has the gall to go in public and say that the DNA evidence is bulletproof?
Yes.
This is how is this not criminal?
Just wait.
Do DAs operate under qualified immunity like police officers?
Just wait.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Can you just hang on tight to yourself there?
I'm sorry. This Nifong guy's an idiot.
A vigilante poster created by the Durham Police, and that's what people started calling it, is the vigilante poster, was created by Durham Police, and it surfaced on campus showing the 47 lacrosse players with the words, "Please come forward," in large type.
Wow. I wonder if my uncle works for the poster guys in Chapel Hill, Durham, and this is what he does. He posters everywhere. I wonder if he postered these.
Look, this was printed at a Duke facility with the knowledge of Duke officials to print these posters for police and hang them up on campus.
Man, there's a lot of people in the Durham Police and the DA's office and the Duke University that are just really fucking this up.
Amid all the protests about what had happened, Nifong had continuously told the media for a week that the DNA evidence would seal the deal. He began shifting the conversation away from DNA to focus on the sexual assault exam performed. To explain the absence of DNA, he said, quote, "I would not be surprised if condoms were used." He told Dan Abrams of MSNBC, quote, I am convinced there was a rape."
Okay.
Attorney Joe Cheshire told the Raleigh News and Observer, quote, "Not about Nifong. He'll say whatever he wants to say in public, but he won't say in public what the evidence is."
That's a valid point.
During another official photo lineup, Crystal had a hard time identifying her attackers once again. She pointed to a photo of David Evans, saying he kind of looked like a guy, one of the attackers, but the attacker had a mustache. And it was the first time Crystal mentioned a mustache to anyone. She also said that Reed Seligman looked like one of the attackers. Colin Finnerty was also named as one of the attackers. So those were the three men she named as her rapists.
Well, at this point, I got to imagine Crystal's seen newspapers or news reports with all these boys' pictures. I mean, I don't see how you could be having, at this point, a fair lineup that's not been tainted.
Well, in the beginning, she said it was Brett, Adam, and Matt. And now one of them has a mustache.
Right.
We have Reed, Colin, no Brett or Adam.
That doesn't matter. You think Nifong gives a damn? He don't care. He's going to say she's picked out 3 more attackers.
Now, one of the men that she recognized, and she said, quote, "with 100% certainty as being a party guest," was Ryan McFadden's roommate, Brad Ross. But Brad Ross, now she's swearing up and down this guy was at the party.
She's the most sure of this guy.
Yes, he was 100% at this party. He had actually been in Raleigh with his girlfriend on the night of March 13th and had a very solid alibi for having been in Raleigh.
Doesn't matter to Nifong one bit.
Another player, Chris Loftus, who was supposedly 100% at the party, was actually in his dorm room, according to the keycard reports. He hadn't been at the party at all, one of the players. Not liking the DNA results from the state lab, Nifong ordered the DNA to be tested by a private lab in Burlington, North Carolina. On April 10th, one of the attorneys representing a player stated that the timestamp photos existed that showed Crystal Mangum having injuries when she arrived at the party and that she was very impaired. The attorney also announced that the state crime lab's DNA testing failed to confirm a rape by any of the players on the lacrosse team. But on April 18th, Mike Nifong indicted Seligman and Finnerty on first-degree forcible rape, first-degree sexual offense, and kidnapping. Seligman told the media he was glad they had picked him because of his solid alibi, which consisted of ATM receipts, photographs, cell phone records, and an affidavit from a taxi driver, and also a record of his Duke card being swiped at his dorm room.
What the hell, dude? So he's like, yeah, sure, bring it on, because I mean, I'm out of all the guys, I have the
I have a
bulletproof.
paper trail.
Yeah. Okay.
The private DNA company was called DNA Security Inc., which Nifong wanted to do that second round of testing, released an incomplete report. It contained information about the fake fingernails, which one of the players had found in the bathroom and had thrown in the trash.
So she had broken nails.
She had,
there.
but they said it's because she was flailing around.
Right.
And
But she had actually left some fake nails behind.
she had.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So these fake fingernails were procured from the trash, and they said 2% of the male population could not be excluded from this DNA match, like of a male on these fake fingernails.
Oh, and so they're okay.
And David Evans is one of the persons that could not be excluded from this match.
Oh.
However, Brian Meehan will later testify that pursuant to an agreement with Nifong, this is the forensic tester at this lab, he deliberately withheld information from this report because Nifong wanted him to.
Again, that seems criminal to me.
So on May 15th, Evans became the other player to be indicted. So at this point, he's the third player. So we're going to fast forward a little bit to December 22nd of 2006. Mike Nifong dropped the rape charges against the three players after Crystal told an investigator another different version of events. She said she could no longer be sure about her recollection.
You think?
It was on December 28th of 2006, the North Carolina Bar Association filed ethics charges against District Attorney Nifong. The 17-page document showed he violated rules of professional conduct, citing more than 100 examples of his statements to the press. Roy Cooper, the Attorney General, took over the case in January of 2007. Cooper spoke of a rush to accuse, citing that Nifong had withheld exculpatory evidence. In March, the charges were officially dropped. Cooper announced not only were the charges dismissed, but declared the three players innocent.
Okay.
At Nifong's ethics trial, it would later show there were DNA findings. The lab discovered at least 2 unidentified males' DNA in Mangum's pubic region and 2 unidentified males' DNA in her rectum, 4 to 5 unidentified male DNAs in her underwear, and 1 unidentified male DNA in her vagina.
Whoa. Okay, what does that lead you to believe?
Well, this leads me to believe that this is some pretty crucial information that they're leaving out of the DNA report.
I'm sorry, it leads me to believe that she may be doing actual, like sex for money work.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's...
Yeah.
that's what's going on, Dylan.
Yeah, because, do you change underwear? Because you only got one DNA in your vagina, but you got like multiple DNAs on your underwear, bro? Them things that stand up in the corner by herself, girl. You got to change them out at least twice a day at the rate you're going.
Now you're just being like gross.
I'm not. Would you? I would think you're gross, Heather, if you had 5 males' DNA on your underwear and 1 in your vagina. That means it's like you're just gonna keep wearing the underwear.
Now you're slut shaming me.
I'm not slut shaming you.
If I want to fuck 4 or 5 dudes and
You
wear
can.
them around in my panties all day, I'll do it, and it's not your business.
Oh my
is it?
God, to wear them around in your panties? You just grossed me out.
Good.
Let's move on.
Okay.
I think it's funny.
Well, there you go.
That was funny. Wear them around in my underwear, bro.
It's none of your business. I don't care if you are my husband.
Well,
okay?
no,
It's none of your business.
I was going to say is I'm the one person it is my business. How many DNAs is in your vagina?
Oh, so you're just worried about the vagina? You ain't worried about my rectum?
Well, I'm just...
Damn nearly killed him.
You can at least change your
What about
drawers.
my ear?
How many DNAs are in your
You
ear?
don't even know how many dicks I had in this ear.
Jesus.
That's why I'm hard of hearing.
Oh my God.
Get it? Hard, but
You're totally
Okay.
in a whole group of tiny penised men just
No,
ear
it's the
hustling.
Family Guy reference where all the kids are having ear sex.
Okay.
You don't remember that episode?
I do.
Okay. It was also revealed that Mangum had Ambien, methadone, Paxil, and amitriptyline, or tryptamine, I'm probably saying that wrong, in her system. She also had a long history of bipolar disorder, which was not included in any information or reports. A security officer who worked at a strip club said that Mangum was telling coworkers 4 days after the incident that she was, quote, going to get some money from some boys at Duke.
Uh-oh.
So she was supposedly at the strip club telling folks this. And on December 15th of 2006, it was reported that Crystal Mangum was pregnant, and the judge in the case ordered a paternity test.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, all this gets dropped.
The baby has like 6 fathers.
And come on. See, now you're being mean.
That's not mean.
Like,
She has multiple DNAs in the baby too.
see, now you're slut shaming. Now
I'm
you're
not
and
slut
now you're
shaming.
baby shaming.
There's nothing shameful about it.
And now you're shaming this baby.
Baby is just like a genetic cocktail. It's just like, got all the things from all the players.
Maybe it's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger character in Twins.
Yeah.
It got all the good stuff,
Yeah.
right? By 2008, Crystal graduated from college with a degree in psychology. But Dylan, her story does not end there.
Really?
Oh, we got some more to talk about just when you thought I was done.
But wait, there's more.
Crystal wrote a book in which she claimed the rape did happen, but it was dropped out of political motivations. On February 17th of 2010, Durham Police were called to Crystal's home by her 9-year-old daughter. Mangum and her boyfriend, Milton Walker, were fighting. Crystal had set fire to his clothing in the bathtub. The building suffered smoke damage.
Wow.
She was arrested on charges of attempted murder, first-degree arson, assault and battery, identity theft, communicating threats, damage to property, resisting an officer, and child abuse. She was only allowed to see her children under supervision of social services. They were removed from her custody, but she was arrested again for failure to comply with this visitation order. She was given 88 days in jail with social services left to make the custody decision. Like the judge just, sentenced her for the crimes, but then let DSS take care of the custody part. Then Crystal was arrested again on April 3rd of 2011 after stabbing her boyfriend, Reginald Day.
Oh my gosh.
He died 10 days later from his injuries. Day said he was trying to get away from her as she stabbed him, and she was claiming it was self-defense. But the evidence proved that Day was telling the truth. From his injuries, they could see that he had been trying to get away from her as she was stabbing him.
Yeah, the 12 stab wounds in his back.
On November 22nd of 2013, Crystal was convicted of second-degree murder. She was given a maximum of 17 years, and she is currently serving that at the Noose Correctional Institute.
So Crystal, the catalyst of this entire thing,
Yes.
went on to kill her boyfriend.
Yes.
Wow. I never had any idea that happened, right? I'd never heard that.
The 3 accused students were given a settlement by Duke University on June 18th of 2007. It is for an undisclosed amount. Supposedly, Duke paid $60 million to the 3 players, but they say that's not exactly true.
Duke says that's not true.
The players are like, oh, it wasn't that much.
Oh, well, it was some mills, I bet you.
Seligman was motivated to pursue a law degree after the experience, and Finnerty went on to enroll at Loyola College in Maryland, and he graduated in 2010.
Oh, so he left Duke?
Yeah, he left Duke.
Wow.
David Evans, who I believe had already graduated at the time this trial was taking place, he went to the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, and he graduated with his MBA in 2012. On July 12th of 2010, the North Buchanan House was demolished by the university.
Damn.
The lead detective, Sergeant Mark Gottlieb, committed suicide
Really?
in July of 2014 while living in Georgia.
That's unfortunate.
There's an ESPN documentary called Fantastic Lies. It premiered in March of 2016. If you would like to see like a documentary about this case. And I referenced a ton of newspaper articles because this was a fairly recent case. Days of the internet. We had lots and lots of news reporting on this. And another major resource I used for this is The Price of Silence by William D. Cohen.
Wow. I tell you what, there was a lot of information in there I'd never heard. And I would like to think that many of the listeners feel the same. So thank you for revisiting this very, very well-known case. And I think you did a wonderful job on digging out all the deets.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like we could have like a sorry, I keep hitting this mic stand.
Baby, grab that
we
mic.
We could have like a 10-part podcast.
Holy
on
shit.
This. I mean, there's so much information and detail that I was able to find, but I wanted to try to condense it in a way that was interesting and kind of highlight some of the, I guess, bigger things that were happening.
Right.
As the story played out.
I think you done good.
It's wild. I mean, I remember this pretty well, when it happened. And, of course, it was immediately, like most people, I think, kind of a rush to judgment of like, this is a horrible story. They better not get away with it.
Well, I mean, time and again.
But then when the information came out,
right,
that there was no DNA evidence and that this didn't happen, I mean, it was shocking that someone would go to this extreme to lie and potentially ruin the lives of many people. I mean, the coach, the administration, the players.
Right, the players. I mean, as I'm sure it devastated their parents. I mean, this is a very serious accusation. And you got to have in the back of your mind, are these boys really telling me the truth? So now you start wondering about if your kid did this.
Well, it was such a prevalent media case. I mean, these guys, the whole lacrosse team, I mean, they probably went on to face scrutiny.
Oh, yeah.
Later on, whether it was interviewing for jobs or, anything. Like, oh, you're a Duke lacrosse player.
Right.
I mean, it really sullied the school's reputation and athletes' reputation for a long time.
Well, and time and again, we've seen these athletes actually commit sexual assault in various forms, and it gets swept under the rug or covered up. And I think that was one of the reasons the public was so quick to, oh yeah, here we go, more asshole athletes who think they can do anything, and but in this case, actually, they were all innocent. So it was something else. Now, I did Googleize that question I asked. Can you sue a DA? Or do they operate under qualified immunity such as cops do? And here it says, the generic answer, although it's possible, prevailing in a malicious prosecution or similar lawsuit against a district attorney or equivalent government lawyer for the act of filing charges is usually a tall task. A criminal defendant turned civil plaintiff must typically prove outrageous conduct by the lawyers in question. So that's interesting. It flips from, hey, this prosecutor was, maliciously prosecuting me on these criminal charges. Now I got to go over to civil court to sue him. So it's not criminal. You can't even bring them up in criminal court. Interesting, huh?
No, but you can get them disbarred.
You can get them disbarred and you can get that paycheck, son. But unfortunately, that paycheck, those settlements are always taken care of with taxpayer money. And I think that's wrong.
Well, there you go.
All right. So
what's amazing to me with this story is that you have all of this time and the resources that were put into this investigation.
Yep.
And then you have someone who ultimately is lying, right? I mean, why is there nothing done about that? Do they not file perjury charges? Or, I mean, I don't know. It just seems that's a very dangerous game you're playing. And it's those kinds of stories that really discredit
real victims.
Yes. And people are like, oh, well, you could just be making it up. It's your word against his word. We hear that so often. even though I think that rarely happens. But when you have this case that's such a prominent, very public scandal
Right.
at a major university, and it's making the news everywhere, then people automatically are going to refer to that and be like, well, remember that case?
I guarantee you.
So it really does a disservice to true victims.
I guarantee you, time and again, that has been referenced in that very way.
I'm sure it has.
To real victims who have actually been assaulted. And I think that we always err on the side of the victim, just in case, because 99 out of 100 times it really happened, right? But I do believe if you lie, like Crystal did in this case, I believe you should be brought up on criminal charges. I think there should be some kind of a charge for that. No different than if someone accuses someone of molestation, rape, or any of that, and it didn't really happen, and it's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that, it is a lie, and that those things did not happen. I think you should be brought up on charges personally.
Well, it also reminds me of a few years after this. Back in 2014, there was a writer, Sabrina Rubin Erdely, who wrote a piece for the Rolling Stone called A Rape on Campus. And it was this bombshell story that ignited a ton of conversation about sexual assault on college campuses. It was published, as I mentioned, in 2014. It was like a 9,000 word article that was recalling a student known as Jackie, was his first name, experiencing her first frat party at the University of Virginia, and specifically her account of how she was brutally gang raped by 7 men while other fraternity brothers looked on.
My God.
I mean, they talked about how they pushed her through a glass table, grabbing her. I mean, it was just this very horrific story. She stumbled away from the frat house in the middle of the night. She was barefoot, bleeding. She called people to come help her, but none of her friends would come because they were concerned about like the social price of helping her.
Jesus.
And her reporting it.
This is like the Black Dahlia. Everybody's just going to stand around and watch while this woman's attacked.
Well, the thing is, Dylan, cracks soon surfaced in this story. This lady, Erdely, the writer, hadn't fact-checked her source.
So this isn't true?
And these claims were not
substantiated.
No. And Rolling Stone had to retract the story.
Wow.
And then they had to pay like I think it was 1.65. It was like over $1 million, over $500,000 million to this fraternity for writing this like fake story.
Man, how in the world could you do this huge 9,000 word article and not have everything buttoned down? Because this is very serious allegations. And not only should, when I was saying you should be brought up on criminal charges against the victims that you have accused who are innocent, it is also what you said it does, the disservice it does to true sexual assault victims. There should be some, I mean, you're diluting that, just the very term rape or the idea of rape with your bullshit. And then that is in turn used to discredit true victims. And I think that is one of the shittiest things you can do.
Well, this writer declined to say what she knew about the attackers or if she'd reached out to any of the men that were part of the story for comments. And a lot of people noted that she had almost a cinematic writing style. And they were kind of saying that her over-the-top writing style had sort of obscured the fact that this was like a completely fabricated story.
What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, so this, and you couple that with this case at Duke, and I mean, this doesn't look good.
No.
And it looks bad for victims.
No, and it's been used against victims more than once.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for that, Heather. And for all the real rape and the true rape victims, I think all the rapists should be killed. I think everybody knows that.
How you feel about that.
But I don't want people to go away from this thinking we would ever, trash a victim or anything like that because we wouldn't.
Well, you was.
I wasn't trashing her.
Well, you was.
She's not the victim.
Well, you was trashing her panties.
Well, her panties is on 1,000. Her panties could just get up and leave by herself. But I see you later.
Well, I'm curious what a lab would find in your drawers.
Oh, my jaws get changed every day, and there ain't but one. Well, there might be your DNA in them, but that's going to be it.
Why? Because I wear them when you're not here.
There's not going to be 9 people's
I
DNA.
put them on and then I stretch and kick and stretch.
Yeah. Ew.
And then I put them back.
Ew. Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I run around like a ninja, like doing cool
Oh,
moves.
it's because I got the spandex
Like everybody
microfibers.
was kung fu fighting and I'm like kicking and shit.
Okay.
And then I take your drawers off and put them back
Nice.
in your little area.
I like it. You warm them up for me.
Yeah.
All right. So thank everyone for tuning in. We're going to turn this episode out on time, which is amazing. And Heather's worked so hard on all these stories. And yeah, let's just keep it moving. And if you would like to get any extra content, of course, you can join us over at patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast for tons of extra content and the commercial-free experience on every episode. Plus, you get access to our Discord fam.
Plus, we've started a new feature with Patreon. We're calling it the Mountain Murders Movie Club, Dylan.
Oh my gosh.
Where we are going to choose like true crime documentaries or like movies based on true crimes, and we're going to float it out. This is what we're watching this week, and then we're going to watch it and talk about it, discuss it on an episode.
Nice. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think patrons are going to be excited about that.
And I have
It's
one.
a lot easier than a book club.
And as everyone's been so very helpful with our YouTube channel that's took the time to pop in there and just hit the subscribe button. We're almost on the verge of monetization there. So every time I ask, we get 10 or 15 joyous souls who pop in there and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. So just look up Mountain Murders Podcast on YouTube, hit subscribe. We're almost there. I believe in you.
Okay, Dylan, thank you for that.
All right.
Okay, until next time.
Same Mountain Murders channel, Mountain Murders time.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.